Hello, everyone. We are here today to talk to you about Teams. My name is Amy Spriggs. I am the Director of Marketing Strategy for Tomorrow's Technology Today. And we bring you this Lunch 365 program the first and third Wednesday of every month. We are in our second edition for this quarter three already. So today we have with us Katie Kramer. Katie is our project and training specialist here at TTechT. She specializes in all things Microsoft, and she is the one who will help walk us through Teams today. So I know people can be kind of all over the map. Katie and I talked about this with like how much you know or don't know about Teams. Feel free to ask your questions in the comments. I will be watching those along across all platforms. We are live right now on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So if you're on any of those, hello. Nice to see you. If you're watching the replay, feel free to send us a private message and we will get those questions answered. So I will share later on the website you can go to if you have ideas for future topics or anything like that as well. But for now, I will turn it over to Katie.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amy, and welcome everybody. All right. So,
Go and get this.
all right. So, kind of just to get us started, and for anyone who hasn't worked with Microsoft Teams yet, just to kind of explain what Microsoft Teams is, and then kind of as we go today, we will get into a little bit deeper dive. I have a video that I want to share of Teams and SharePoint working together. I know we have a ton of people who ask us about using SharePoint, so I just want to show you how those two tools work together, as well as some of the other apps that you can use with Microsoft Teams. So, to kick us off, so what is Microsoft Teams? So Teams is a place that you can do chat, you can do meetings, host webinars, you can do calls, and the big thing is you can collaborate with your team. So you can share your screen, you can share files. When everything was shut down, they started together mode, which basically puts everyone like in a gallery view. So you can look like your whole team is sitting in an auditorium, for example, when you're doing a larger meeting. So kind of just to bring that togetherness back. So how can you access Microsoft Teams? So there is a desktop application that you can download if you go to your portal.office.com. If you want to do the mobile app, or if you want to go to teams.microsoft.com and use the web option. The browser option is really nice too. So let's say like if you're working with us or working with someone else who has Teams installed and you don't have Teams, you can still get to it from any browser. So there's always that option as well when you are joining a meeting invitation. So some best practices for organizing teams in Microsoft Teams. So kind of just to keep it from getting too cluttered and getting teams all over the place and getting to be too much, just a couple tips for you. So one is to add teams gradually. The second is to create channels to focus those discussions. So the channels can either be if you want to do it by project or by product or by department, whatever makes the most sense for you guys. Kind of just map it out and see where things fit best, and then kind of, again, gradually add those in. You can also use the general channel. Everyone within your organization will have access to that. And then consider setting up moderation in your team's channels. So there's also an option to use audio conferencing. So this kind of ties back to joining if you need to use a browser, if you don't have the web app available. And when you would use the audio conferencing, this is when internet connectivity is limited, if a meeting is audio only, if the person doesn't have anything that they want to present, but they just need a place for everyone to join. If the call quality is better when dialing in, people can join in a meeting hands-free using Bluetooth devices. So let's say that you're out on the road and you need to hop on a meeting. This is a great tool to use. And people find that it's easier and more convenient for their situation. So sometimes too, it's just easier to have that call-in number. So the audio conferencing, I believe it's still available for that license. This was also something kind of brought over from the Skype days. It used to be a PSTN license. Now it's called the audio conferencing license. So basically what that does is it's for people who are licensed to use Microsoft Teams. It adds that phone number and that conference ID so that people are able to call in. So you can just have a couple people within your organization that have the audio conferencing license available. So kind of just some conference call etiquette. So of course, with people working remotely or being on the road or whatever it is, just a couple reminders of just some basic etiquette that you can follow. So one is make sure that you're on mute, especially like if you're in a busy office or if you are working from home and, the doorbell rings and the pets go crazy or whatever. Never put the call on hold. That can be distracting, especially if you have hold music tied to your team setup. Don't talk over others. I know sometimes this can get a little tricky, especially if there's a little bit of a lag, if anyone has kind of a poor internet connection. Make sure that you call in early. Send out meeting materials ahead of time. That's always a big one for me as a project manager. You want to make sure that everyone has the agenda and they know what you guys are going to be talking about if they are hopping on a meeting. And then also just make sure that you choose the best online meeting tool for your small business needs. So again, Teams is available. There are plenty of other options out there. We like Teams. It's a Microsoft product. We are a Microsoft Gold partner. So of course, that's what we're going to say is to definitely use Teams. But I do have to admit that I've used a lot of conferencing solutions, and I do really like how Teams works. So it's very easy to use. So Amy, are there any questions so far?
No questions yet, but just a reminder to go ahead and put those in the comments, and I will try to grab those from there.
Okay. All right. So up next, we have Teams and Outlook email integration. So to do this, just go to Conversation in Teams, right-click, and select Share to Outlook. That's going to just basically grab a little snapshot of whatever chat message that you have going on. So this is just one that Amy and I were chatting back and forth about something. So I just want to use this as an example that you can see. It'll take that little snapshot, pop it into an email, and from there you can go in and you can format it and then send it out. And any notes or anything that you want to add, you can do that as well. Kind of just a nice way that they play together. And then there are a couple different notification options available within Teams. So you can do like the little red icon. You can have it play a sound when you get a message. Or if you miss a message, like our third shift guy is Ash. And, so every night for us, he hops on and says good morning. So the next day I'll see when he got on, any notes that he has or anything that he sends to me. I can see those the next day. So it makes it real easy. I can either reply to him or go to the conversation. And again, this is just an email snapshot. And then Amy, I believe our next slide is a video, if you're able to pull that up. So this is going to be for some of our Microsoft Teams power users who are also getting started with SharePoint. So I thought this video really explains really well and gives you some great examples of how Teams and SharePoint work together. So just to give you guys a few ideas.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and get that started.
Perfect, thanks.
Hi, I'm Mark Cashman, and I'm on the Microsoft 365 marketing team, primarily focused on SharePoint and OneDrive, and here today to share with you what you can do with SharePoint inside of Microsoft Teams. When we work together and get things done, there should be less confusion between people and the content that they share. High-performing teams achieve more with fewer open questions among well-informed team members. At Microsoft, our mission is to empower every person and organization on the planet to achieve more. And when this is done together as a team, it's teamwork that moves things forward. Your intranet in Microsoft 365 is ready for you, built for teamwork to keep you and your team informed, engaged, and moving forward. This is the design goal behind Microsoft Teams and the reason why SharePoint is deeply integrated to provide great content experiences and services for teamwork right within your hub. And with this knowledge, people work confidently, knowing everything is protected by industry-leading security and compliance and the ability to adhere to your desired governance outcomes. To show you all of how this works, I will highlight 4 main benefits of SharePoint Plus Teams through several scenarios with helpful tips and tricks for you to see on full display. To start, I will show you how to work on files when you're in Microsoft Teams. We are providing a new files experience to give you more powerful options with how you view, sync, and share your files when working with your peers in a Teams channel. Here are 3 example scenarios. So one of the main default tabs in a Microsoft Teams channel is the Files tab. And this Files tab is backed by the power of SharePoint, giving you these great files experiences and content services. To highlight that, when you go to a channel, this is the general channel of the Mark 8 project team. I click on Files, and I see all the files that are available to me, particular to this channel. Right away, you'll see that I can do some new things. I can sync this entire library, so now we support sync for Microsoft Teams. I can go into a more visual mode by choosing tiles, which will show me all of the previews, and we support previews of over 330 file types. You can see a couple of them on display here. This is a DICOM images, common in healthcare. This is actually coming through a video file, PDFs, JPEGs, all the Office documents, and even a CAD file is showing us a preview here. Once I start working with these files, if I want to highlight one, I can now pin to top, select a PowerPoint, and have it be the most visible file in this particular view by just pinning it to the top. These are all new capabilities that are actually now fluid and consistent no matter whether you're in SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams, or Outlook. But specifically here, you're getting a much better files experience inside of Teams. One of the things that you want to do to highlight an individual file, and I'll highlight this PowerPoint here, is I right-click and I choose to make this individual file a tab of its own. When I do that, you'll see that it'll load up PowerPoint for the web right here in line so I can do my work, and I can expand this view, and now everybody in this team on this channel can go directly to this individual tab to review the Contoso Loyalty Program PowerPoint, to make changes, to copy and paste from this if they want to share it with other people, or use it when they're in a sales presentation. It's that easy, a single individual file as a tab in Teams. Now, it's important to know that when you're in something like the general channel that I'm in, when we're on the Files tab, that's an individual folder in a much broader document library. And as you're seeing here, we were talking about a single file in that particular folder, but I want to show you how you can bring in the full document library. There's a tab in the plus button where you choose Document Library, and on this particular site, as I click into it, you'll see that it'll give me a list of the different documents and the different libraries that are available in that team site. When I click next, I can name this whatever I want. I'll just do it all docs for visual sake here. And when I click save, this is now going to add that full document library. All of the folders that were in there now are visible to me on a single tab. So now I can see here's the general channel that we were on, but now I see all the other folders and files that were available in the full document library experience. So let me real quickly show you another way that you can bring in a full document library. This time it's one that's managed at a more parent level across my organization. I go in and choose again Document Library, this time from a SharePoint link that actually is going to pull in information that's managed by our central marketing group with all of our organization assets. I want to choose the photography folder so that all of my team members have access to all the photos that are available to us to use, like stock photography or approved photography for our different projects. And when I click save, it's going to go and retrieve that from the intranet. I have permissions to view it here, and I can see that these are now all the photo assets that are available to me to use in my different projects. But as you can see here, I'm still in the Teams user interface.
I'm going to pause that for just a second. Katie, I know I unmuted you here for a minute. I will say this is an awesome piece to this. As the marketing director, I have some interns and different folks that work with me. And so when I can get things together like the logos and put them all in one place, put photos that I want used in different things in one place, I just have to organize one location that I'm going to use that I can then share out with them so they all have the same materials and the same information, and that we're sharing things, especially when you're talking about your branding. If you want things, your logo looks a specific way, you want it to look that way. And so you want to make sure your colors are in line and things like that. So this is a really nice, easy way to share all those files and maybe not all be in the same location. Right now I'm working from my home office. You can see behind me, my home office. Katie is working from our main office. But we may have people working from all over, and they can be anywhere, and we can be working on the same files. So I do love this piece hugely.
On the general channel, now with a new tab called Photos, another way to bring in a full document library of great assets right to my team. SharePoint news, both team-level news and organization news, provide a rich landscape from which to share and learn what's happening throughout your intranet. You can easily create dynamic, media-rich experiences in SharePoint and then have them easily flow into Microsoft Teams. Let's take a closer look across 3 things you can do with news in Teams. One of the most effective ways to communicate throughout your intranet is using SharePoint News. And we support SharePoint News from the team level, we call that bottoms-up news, and from the organization level, that top-down message to everybody. And I want to show you how you can bring in both team news and org news here in the same view on the general channel as news tabs. It's really easy. You go to the plus button and click on SharePoint. And then this is going to highlight one of the default pages that we create for you, what we call news. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to post about this down to the channel so I can start a conversation to let people know that news is now available. When I click save, it brings in this SharePoint page as a beautiful tab in Teams, and it highlights all the news that my team has been publishing, whether it was just a couple of minutes ago or several days and weeks ago. And as I scroll down, you'll see that all the news comes through with beautiful previews, titles, who published it, and when. And click into it, read the news to all my heart's content. So let's switch from talking about team news, where you use the news page from the connected SharePoint team site, to actually pull in organization news that's from the general news portal for the entire company. But we're going to add it here as a tab in Teams. And in fact, I've already done that, where if I scroll through and you see org news, as this loads up, I'm going to put it into more of an expansive view. So you can see all the news that's managed from the top down for everybody at the company is right here in line with where me and my team members are working. So as I scroll through, you'll see news from all over the place, from leadership, from the giving campaign, sales and marketing, communications, and it's all laid out beautifully on this organization news page. But really, I've just added it as a page here in Teams so that my team can review all the news, team news and org news, all in one place. Last thing I want to show you is how I can make all the news that my team publishes flow in automatically using a connector that we call SharePoint News Connector. I'm going to go into the general channel again, choose connectors, and this time I want to go in and search for SharePoint to find the SharePoint News channel. And it's right here at the top, but you can also search for it if you don't see it right away. When I click Configure, what this is going to do is it's going to automatically pull in any published news from the team site and start a conversation directly in our Microsoft Teams chat experience. So that's configured. Now, anytime that I go into my posts and look at the conversations that are happening around me, you'll see here that SharePoint is actually posting news, that the news connector is live, and now any further news that gets published that we saw on the news page will actually automatically start a conversation. Home is where the heart of productivity is, and we love what it can provide to all members of a team. What may have taken 4 to 5 tabs to pull in all the relevant content in context can be simply created as a homepage in SharePoint and then brought in as a single tab in Teams, all on one page. I'll show you how that works. So let's talk about how we can have a combined, very highly contextualized page that will help you put your information in a way that you want to share it in a very rich multimedia way, but also save yourself so you don't have to have 5 or 6 tabs to represent information when you can have it all on one page. So I want to show you how to use your SharePoint team site homepage as a tab in Teams. So I'm going to go in and bring in the homepage using the SharePoint tab. And because we're on the Mark 8 project team, I want to bring in that main homepage. And as this comes in, you'll see that it's going to bring in a lot of information. I'm going to go into a more expanded view so you can see the layout of the entire page. I have a lot of different web parts that I've added to this page. I can see my team calendar here and the team meetings. I can see a snippet of all the news that's going on. I see a countdown to our upcoming product launch in 65 days. But as I scroll the page, you'll see that I've combined a lot of different information coming both from my team and from outside my team, but organized in a way where I want to showcase this almost like a business application to highlight all the pieces of information that are important to my team. But if you remember, I'm in Microsoft Teams in a channel on a single tab. I'm not switching context. I'm not going across different tabs, nor am I leaving the Microsoft Teams interface. I can see conversations that are going on in Yammer. I can see a video, watch it here in line. I can see different activity of what's happening in the site. And as I go further down the page, you can see that I even have some rich experiences of working with documents. I can see analytics that are coming from Power BI, information coming from Twitter, even things that we're using Planner for. I can see the Planner board and all the upcoming tasks that are available to my team. But think about that. You can build out your home page easily, edit it, add all the web parts that you want, and then bring it as a tab in Teams for a very powerful experience to showcase all that information in the same context. Whether it's a simple list of potential clients to follow up with or a broad laptop asset check-in and check-out business solution, SharePoint lists are the backbone of keeping track of things manually or via workflow, and designed with the intent that everyone who views and interacts with that list is in sync with the information and the status that they provide. And even better, you can manage these lists directly next to all the information and conversations you and your team manage. I'll show you how SharePoint lists appear in Teams to give you superpowers to all of your team's data management. To highlight the power of SharePoint lists, I'm going to switch over to a different team that's doing some retail planning, and they have a lot of their information stored in a SharePoint list, and I'm going to bring that in as a tab in Teams and show you the full power of managing data across your team just as another tab in the planning channel here. I'm going to click plus, go to the SharePoint tab, and similar to how we picked pages, you can see I can pivot over to pick lists. The one that I want is the storefront approvals list. As you see, I can bring that in just like any other SharePoint asset in one click. And as it loads up, you'll see that I'm getting access to the full power of the list. Again, I'll go into the expansive view. I can see the information. I can filter it. If I wanted to see all the things that are approved, yes or no, I've actually saved that as a view. So if you know SharePoint lists, I can go to the approved yes. I can switch over, go to outdoors only, and I'm just pivoting the information technically stored in SharePoint, but here for me to access through the Microsoft Teams user interface. Two more things to show you. If I click on an asset, I've actually programmed this as a really nice
And pause that for just a second. So it took me a while to figure that out. Having worked in Teams, I did almost all of my work in Teams. I didn't realize that so much of it was in SharePoint and that I was doing work on the same documents that were in SharePoint via Teams, right? It took me a little bit to connect that because I didn't have the technical background. I'm doing the marketing. I'm doing my daily, my daily tasks and my work. And so it was nice to be able to use it all in Teams. I was using it really seamlessly in Teams and I didn't even realize, like I said, that it was over in SharePoint. So that's just something that I think a lot of people don't know and don't realize that when they're using Teams, often they're using SharePoint as well. And it's kind of a combined thing that it goes so hand in hand. So I think that is something that it took me a little while to realize, oh yeah, I'm doing this technically in both places. So I don't know if there's anything else you want to add to that, Katie?
No, I think that's an important point though for people to know that SharePoint is kind of the backbone of Teams. So anything that you share, it's all going to be saved in SharePoint. And we just went into, people getting started, not sure, like what they can do to better collaborate, things like that. I mean, Microsoft 365 is the total solution. I mean, it's awesome. I love the direction that they're heading, how all of these different apps work together. And then even those apps have apps that you can bring in. So, and we'll talk about those in just a second. I don't know. I think we have just a little bit longer on this video, which I know it's a lot, but like I said, it's for people who are just getting started or maybe thinking about it, but then it's also for those people ready to take that next step and really to start to integrate and use all of the power of all these different features that they have available.
All right, we'll get back to the video.
Form that pops up, and you can see that the form pulls through. So I'm here still within Teams. I can read about that single list item. I can make adjustments, make changes however I'd like. I can highlight one list item and see the full set of information on that list and scroll down, see the different activity that have been on this list, who added it last, who maybe made an update or a change. And the last thing, just to prove out that this is a full SharePoint list, for all of you diehard SharePoint list people, I can even go into Quick Edit that keeps me here working productively right in the Microsoft Teams UI, but on the full power of a SharePoint list to manage my data right here in line as a team. SharePoint list as a tab in Teams, it's as easy as that. And that's the design mantra of Microsoft 365, to empower individuals, teams, and organizations to share and work together on content across boundaries, devices, and time. These tips showcase that design integration between two of Microsoft's best-of-class applications, optimized for your content collaboration and sharing of intelligent intranet experiences. And it's all backed by world-class security and compliance to meet the needs of every team across your organization. If your SharePoint site is not yet connected to Microsoft Teams, you can do this very easily right from your team site homepage from the lower left-hand corner. One click. That's the power to teamify your SharePoint site. And with that, cheers and good teamwork to all.
All right. So that's a lot of information there.
One click, it doesn't get any easier than that, right?
Yeah, but it is that simple. And like I said, obviously it was integrated before I came to work for the company. So it was already rolling and ready. So as soon as I got added to Teams, I had it there. So I guess I never even really realized it because I didn't need to know that part. I just needed to be able to do my work and to be able to collaborate with everyone from anywhere and everywhere because I mostly work from home. So it is nice. So, all right, Katie, I'll let you continue this on and I'll add your stuff back to the stream here.
All right. So yeah, just to kind of touch on a couple points that he was making as far as the apps go. So there are different apps that you can integrate also with Microsoft Teams, and it can be things such as setting your agenda, adding tasks, preparing notes, bringing the energy to the meeting. I mean, especially if you're someone who goes to a lot of meetings and you're like, okay, let's go. There are apps for that can really help. Make the meeting interactive. You can do polls if you want, things like that. Share those meeting notes. You can bring OneNote in. So if you're a big OneNote power user, you can share those notes with your whole team. Also, just keeping your attendees informed. So all the different things like that. So let me see. So there are different apps that are already built in. There are Microsoft provided apps as well as third-party apps validated by Microsoft. So you can go in, you can just use that little search bar within the app screen, and you can just type whatever you want to do. If you want to type task, or if you need clip art or project management, something like that, it's going to bring you up all these different options that you have for apps that you can bring into Teams. That way your whole team has access to it and it adds it directly to the channel. So I think that's super, super helpful. And then I put together just a couple FAQs that I just wanted to kind of run through, just some things that I get asked about quite a bit. So the first one is, can I work with people outside of my organization? Yes, you absolutely can. So you do have to enable a guest mode in your admin center. But once you do that, you can use the search box up at the top of Teams, and you just type in their email address, and they're like, oh, do you mean this email address, which is external to your organization? You click on that, and boom, now you can have a conversation, or you can also add that person to your Teams. So let's say that you're working with a customer and they need to share some files with you. Just add them in there. They can use their browser to get to it. They can share pictures and content and all that kind of stuff with you. So super easy to use. The next question is, can Teams replace Outlook? Unfortunately, not really. We're still going to have that need to use email, but I kind of feel like we're heading that direction. So hopefully someday maybe we'll get there, but it is basically just an instant messaging service and that just happens to be able to do meetings and webinars and different things like that. But the nice part too is you can share attachments, you can do different formatting, things like that within your chat and within your team. So
I will say in this vein, the majority of my work is done in Teams. almost all of it. I don't do a whole lot with email anymore with the people I'm collaborating with. It's rare that I have to use email unless it's for some other organization or something else I'm doing outside of work. I use Teams for pretty much everything at this point. I'm not going to send a one-off email to anyone on the team anymore to ask them a question. I'm going to do that in Teams. When I want to do a group chat, I'm not going to send a group email. I'm going to do it in Teams. So it does replace a lot of that, and it makes it a little more instantaneous with your answers and responses. And you can see who has seen it and who hasn't. You can see if they've, interacted with it because they can like it. They can do, different things like that, like you would in maybe a social media chat, or if you would in any sort of instant messaging app. That is nice. So it really has streamlined communication for me with team members, especially, like I said, I am remote. So being remote, it's great. I don't feel disconnected from my coworkers in any way because we are connected constantly. I mean, Katie and I, we communicate a lot. And so do several of my other team members. Like I communicate with them regularly, just like I would if they were, at the cube next to me. And so it's nice to be able to have that ability.
Absolutely. And I think too, kind of as we just saw in that video too, that since SharePoint is that backbone, anything that is shared within Teams, it's automatically going over to SharePoint. So now you have it saved. You don't have to worry about doing the file save as to keep those attachments from your email. So, which is really nice.
Yes, especially when you're working on larger files, a lot of times like I am, and you're like, okay, is this, version A or version D? We want to make sure we're on version D. We don't have to do that anymore, which is wonderful.
Absolutely. So I think this next question, I think it kind of goes to if you're hosting a webinar or doing any kind of meeting and sharing an audio file or a video file. So yes, you can absolutely share audio via Teams. So if you are the presenter and you have just a quick video clip, yes, it'll give you the option to share the audio with the audience. And then the fourth question is, can I change my background when on a video call? You absolutely can. And I always have the beach background. It's nice and bright. It's fun. But yeah, or if you want to go in and you want to customize it, like as we're getting into football season and things like that, if you want to add the Buckeyes background or something like that, you can totally do that. Or if you want to keep it very professional looking and have your office or, however you want to do it. But the nice part is, like, if people ever walk behind you, you don't see that, like with the background that's available. So, which is, I don't know, I like that about it. So
yeah, that is nice.
Any other questions or any other thoughts?
Let me check here. I don't see any other questions. I did want to share this with everyone. So it's tomtechtoday.com/past-webinars. If you go to that link, or if you go to that site, you will find past webinars we've done here. You'll find copies of those there. You'll also find some of Lisa's executive webinars there as well, which are more cybersecurity focused. So if you're wanting to share any of these things with your team, or if you want to go back through and watch some of our old ones, you absolutely can do that. You can probably find most of them as well on our YouTube pretty easily. I know you can look through our social media and find them there, but that takes a little longer. But if you go through our YouTube or go to this past webinars, you'll find it there. If you want to know what's coming up in our series, you want to go to tomtechtoday.com/lunch365, and that will tell you what's coming up for the rest of the quarter. That is also the page where you can go and fill out a quick little form that just gives us suggestions for what you would like to see covered in the future. We do this as a free service because we want to help people best use their products. So we want to help you with what you want to know. So if there's something you want to know and it's not on that list or that schedule, we will either add it to next quarter's list, or we'll do an extra one-off production, and then we'll share that as well. So we are here to do this as a service for you. So please let us know what you would like. And those are the big things for that, I guess. Anything else that you want to add, Katie?
Nope, I don't think so.
All
right. We're good for today.
I think we are good. Thank you so much, everyone. I know, like I said, Teams is, it can look kind of big and scary, and the work it can do, though, is just, it's unbelievable. Having come from a world that didn't use, sorry, I keep using my hands to talk and hitting my water. Having come from a world that didn't use Microsoft and didn't use Teams, it took me a little bit to get used to it, but I love it. It blows the other products out of the water when it comes to doing all of the work, being able to put all those files right in there, and in SharePoint, having the work happen right now and be updated and saved. It is really phenomenal. So thank you, everyone. And we look forward to seeing you in our next session, which will be the first Wednesday of August already. That just doesn't even seem possible. So I probably won't be with you. I have an event that I have to attend that day. However, Katie will be here. She will fearlessly lead you without me. So we look forward to seeing you on the first Wednesday of August. Have a great day, everyone.
See you guys.